Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Weekend Gear Guide. In episode 7, we showed some of the typical accessories used during our top speed test of the Apollo Pro 60V, and today we'll be doing a subjective loudness comparison review between 4 of those accessories. The Ytuomzi 120dB electric Bicorn versus the Avantree 10W Bluetooth speaker versus the Onvian 113dB anti-theft bike alarm versus the Apollo bell. So let's get started. First, let's briefly go over each of these accessories, starting off with the Avantree 10W Bluetooth bike speaker. As shown in the product page diagram, the Avantree 10W Bluetooth speaker consists of two 5W speakers on one side and a passive bass radiator on the other side. The speaker is removable from its included bike mount and is easy to grip due to its IPX4 shockproof rubber exterior. The buttons are also easy to press even when using thick motorcycle gloves as shown. Regardless of pressing the play, pause, or volume up and down buttons. Now let's listen to the differences between the loudness and sound quality based on the orientation of the dual 5W speakers. As you just heard, the direction of the speakers make a noticeable difference on the loudness, which we'll take into account during our loudness comparison tests by facing the dual 5W speakers forward to maximize the loudness for warning pedestrians of our oncoming scooter. Moving on to the Ytuomzi 120dB electric Bicorn, as specified in the name and shown in the product page, the main benefit is the up to 120dB loudness rating coming out of such a small horn. In terms of mounting the horn, we've placed the horn on the Handlebar Extender in order to maximize its effectiveness of warning pedestrians and routed the wiring and secured the horn controller to the right handlebar of our Apollo Pro 60V scooter. Pressing the bottom button of the horn controller activates the horn, while the top button switches between whistle, horn, and alarm sounds. You'll notice that the whistle sound is not working correctly, but this could be our particular unit. The third accessory is the Apollo bell, which comes included with all Apollo scooters and is pre-installed on the left handlebar of our Apollo Pro 60V scooter. Inclusion of a warning bell, we feel, is the minimum safety feature that should be included with all scooters from all brands, and it's good to see that it's included with the Apollo scooters lineup. The Apollo bell is sufficiently loud, conveniently and easily accessible, and is intuitive to use and is maintenance-free. And finally, to complement a mandatory bike lock, such as the Masterlock street cuffs, which we'll cover in a later review, but for now, check out the description in the link below. For additional security, we have the Onvian anti-theft 113dB bike alarm. As specified in the name and as shown in the product page, the alarm has a 113dB loudness rating and also has an IP55 waterproof rating along with 7 levels of movement sensitivity that the user can configure to trigger the alarm. We've mounted the alarm on the stem just below the speaker facing forward, though it can be placed anywhere in any direction on the stem depending on user preference. The alarm is controlled by a remote control key which has a range of 66 feet. On the remote, the lightning labeled button switches between 5 alarm sounds and the bell labeled button plays the chosen alarm. The 2 buttons on the side activate and deactivate the arming of the alarm. Now let's go over the test setup for the loudness comparison. The distance that we'll be using for which to conduct the loudness comparison from is based on the following table on the CDC website. As shown, a car horn at 16 feet or 5 meters measures around 100 decibels, which can cause possible hearing loss after 15 minutes. Thus, this reference should be the minimum distance from which to conduct the comparison test in order to closely reproduce the ideal distance scenario in which to use the horn accessory in order to prevent any possibility of hearing loss for the pedestrian, but still providing ample warning of your approaching scooter. Therefore, using the width of 2 parking lot spots as visual reference of the distance, where one parking spot width measures 9 feet, the distance we'll be using for the loudness comparison test will be 18 feet. Now, although the speaker and alarm have different use cases, and even the bell would have a different distance criteria, we'll still use the 18 feet distance just for comparison's sake. So let's begin our loudness comparison test. As shown and heard in our loudness comparison test, the Avantree 10-watt Bluetooth bike speaker is almost as loud as both the Ytuomzi 128 decibel Bicorn and the Onvian 113 decibel anti-theft alarm, thus should be sufficient enough to provide ample warning to pedestrians. But there are still a few things missing from the comparison, the first of which is how does the pre-installed Apollo bell sound in comparison, and the second thing is how do each of these accessories compare if there is wind and road noise in the background. Well, we've also performed those comparisons too, so have a look. Now let's summarize how each of these accessories compare to one another as subjectively measured from a distance of 18 feet. Starting from the least loudest, as expected, is the Apollo bell, which I found still does a fairly decent job of warning pedestrians, and it's great that Apollo is including this accessory with all their scooters. The Apollo bell will be used as the loudness baseline. Moving a few notches up in our loudness scale is the Avantree 10-watt Bluetooth bike speaker, but with speakers facing towards the side or back, which is heard significantly impacts the loudest in comparison to when the speakers are facing forwards. Hence, the same Avantree 10-watt Bluetooth bike speaker also lists higher up in our loudness scale, this time when the speakers are facing forward. And moving into second position is the Ytuomzi 120 decibel electric Bicorn, which is very loud, except with the somewhat defective whistle sound setting as heard in this review. And last but not least, the loudest accessory in this comparison review is the Onvian 113 decibel anti-theft bike alarm, which slightly edges out the Ytuomzi Bicorn for the number 1 spot. In conclusion, we recommend to have all 4 of these accessories on your electric scooter, electric bike, or bicycle, since they are all loud and each serve a specific purpose and advantages where any overlaps exists. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions about this video or would like to see some reviews on any other gear for your weekend adventure, please leave them in the comments below. Hit that like button if you found this review helpful and informative, click on the subscribe button to get notified of new reviews, and stay tuned for the next Weekend Gear Guide episode.